All right, guys, we are back. Another Masters in Motion episode here. And Rick, today it's just us. I've been excited for this for a little bit here.
Yeah. Yes. Look, there's no third screen. Sorry to disappoint if you were expecting something other than our faces. Right. But we're staying consistent. We do have plenty of things to talk about.
This episode is powered by Thirdsy, your go-to for game-changing sleep recovery. Imagine hitting your workouts harder and waking up feeling unstoppable. That's what Thirdsy's PM Recovery Collagen does for me. It's like pre-workout, but for your sleep, fueling your body's active recovery processes without any melatonin or sedatives. Just one scoop before bed supports deeper, more restorative sleep so you can crush your fitness goals. Ready to experience the best rest and recovery? Visit Thirdsy.com and transform your nights into recovery power hours. Thirdsy, because sleep is the ultimate recovery tool. That's THIRDZY.com. Save 20% with code JASONZZZ. Let's get into the show. With that, we've had, the Masters CrossFit Games as a big topic over the past, number of episodes and planning for that. So we decided in this episode, there are a ton of other things happening as we move through the summer and into the fall. And we wanted to touch on all of those things, what you're going to be involved in, Rick, what I'm going to be doing during the fall season, past just after the CrossFit Games. In fact, there's even some stuff happening prior to the CrossFit Games, which we'll talk about. But before that, there's of course been some CrossFit news. And I know that you and I are the type of people that check our phone often enough that when something comes out, you're like, oh, wow, there's only 100 likes on this. This is brand new news. So yes. We've got some news. What are some things that you picked up this week in the CrossFit world news?
Well, since they've released, we'll call it just 2 events, but no details yet. I'll take one, you take one, if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Today, when my phone vibrated and it said new event or new release or whatever, I tapped on it and there was a countdown and I thought I'd done something wrong because I'm never early to anything. And sure enough, I had to wait 30 seconds and it said 100 people watching. I was like, okay, this is good. The run swim. And I watched the second time. I didn't miss it. It just says run swim 4 miles. So
yes,
looks like somebody's running outdoors and somebody's swimming in open water. I'm assuming it'll be a 3 mile, 1 mile type of event. I mean, we'll get into this too, but in a lot of his Dave Castro athlete interviews, he's really talked around the idea of swimming for distance. How long is your swimming session? What do you think of long distances? Things like that. So I think he was kind of throwing some hints out. I would be shocked if it were a very short swim and a very much longer run. But run, swim.
I agree. I watched the video and was super confused. I was like, what is this? It shows 4 miles. To me, it looked like a 4 mile run for time, and then a guy jumping in the water. Obviously, swimming. I like where your head's at, that maybe it's a 4 mile total distance. And interesting that you picked up on Dave talking about, swimming longer in some of his interviews, because that could be interesting. One thing that I know about Dallas Fort Worth is there are some huge bodies of water down there.
Okay.
When I was in an RV life, this was last May, actually, we were down there for about 3 weeks on Grapevine Lake, which is just an absolutely huge reservoir. I mean, so huge. Okay, say I grew up in Colorado. So a huge reservoir in Colorado, you can get from one side to the other side with a jet ski in probably 5 minutes. That's a huge lake in Colorado. We did rent jet skis when we were on the lake in Texas. And I do remember going as fast as a jet ski would go. Actually, my 11-year-old son was he had the throttle and we were having some fun and we were on glassy water first thing in the morning. And I think we went for about 10 minutes at full throttle in a direction. And then we're like, well, we should probably turn around because we're just 10 minutes. This is how far away we are. Yeah. And we're not even close. It's just so massive. So with that in mind, I did a lot of open water swimming in that lake because I just, you never know what we're going to get at the games.
Right.
So there is some beautiful water down there to swim in. Obviously that's what
he said. First event, wasn't that on the tag?
I didn't see that as a tag. Actually, I think I did. I think you're right.
So
I'm 90% sure I saw that it was the first event.
So if they say first event, this is another thing he's been talking about in his interviews is, we'll keep it safe, keep athletes safe with timing and this and that. So I'm assuming it'll be real early, crack of dawn kind of deal. It'll be warm and humid, but it won't be 2:30, 4 o'clock, something like that in the afternoon kind of heat. So get them in, get them out, cool them off, and then get back inside.
Yeah, get them running. And if they're going to run, they might as well be in the water. Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
They might as well finish in the water. So it could be a run into the water where they would, definitely have the ability to cool down in that sense. So
yeah, good point.
The water is not cold. The water was not cold when I was there in May. So by August, it's not cold water, but it is not hot water. I mean, they're going to be fine. So that's fun. I think the second workout, or the first workout that was announced, and another workout that has been revealed is Chad, the workout Chad, which is just 1,000 box step ups with a 40-pound ruck for men. Is there a different weight for women? Or is
I think it's 45-35.
45-35. Okay.
Somebody better the stat check me on that.
Yes, yeah, fact check us on that.
Yep.
The feedback in the comments was pretty interesting. Pat Fellner jumped in there with his humor. Oh, it was great. Rick, Pat Fellner was like, of course we're doing 1,000 step ups with the step up issue from quarterfinals.
Yes.
They're just gonna wave their caution to the wind and go for it at the games, and just almost a I don't know, a salute to all of those that were upset. Just like, hey, you know what? We're just going to double down on this.
I think it was kind of done on purpose too. I don't know.
Yeah.
No. Well, this stuff's already laid out and planned out. We know that.
Yeah.
But I think this, it plays together very well because of what happened in quarterfinals. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
I think when it was laid out months ago, it might not have been so personal for some people. So
sure.
Yeah. So what's the judging going to be like?
What's the judging going to be like?
Just get up on the box
and imagine being a judge. Could you imagine counting 1,000 step ups? Now, there's probably going to be a twist. Well, he said there's going to be a twist. So maybe they're going to be doing some sort of other movements along with Chad. I mean, could you imagine doing 100 box step ups and then, 10 ring muscle ups with the weight on? I mean, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? But it'll be long. It'll be arduous. But it's one of those workouts, kind of like the hero workout Murph that they did in 2015 and 2016, whatever those couple of years when they did that.
2015, 2016. But they did it.
Those hero workouts are differently. They're super meaningful. Chad is a workout that is, it's done, and it has a great cause behind it. The Step Up Foundation is super cool. So in the sense that this is a big stage, it's really neat to have that all be highlighted. I'm sure the backstory and all of that will be shared there. But again, this is going to be one of those workouts where you just, as a spectator, you just go and you just watch.
Oh yeah.
I don't mind sitting there and watching an hour-long workout.
It won't be on ESPN, but it'll be part of the streaming, I'm assuming. And I'll definitely tune in.
Sure.
Chad's wife, I learned through, again, what else am I doing these last few weeks, which we'll talk about, or last couple weeks, was on seminar staff. So first of all, Dave knew Chad, served with him, and then his wife was on seminar staff, and she herself was on a really good podcast with Jocko. So if you subscribe to Jocko, go back and find that episode. She talks a lot about mental health awareness, and it's meaningful. It's important. The younger ones that Castro brings that up to, he's like, so what do you think of Chad? And a lot of them are like, I don't know. I'll just step up on a box 1,000 times. They'll learn quickly.
Sure.
Have you ever done it?
I've never done it.
No.
It's come across my plate to do it a couple of times, and I haven't done it. Mostly, it as a 48-year-old masters athlete, that is an insane amount of volume in a repetitive motion. I think I could do it. I know I could do it. I wouldn't mind doing the challenge someday. It just, the times it's come up has not been advantageous for the rest of my training in that week. So I haven't done it. You have done it, haven't you?
I have. not with the prescribed weight, but to a higher height, because we did it during lockdown. And I only had a vest at the time, so I wore a vest, and I have one of those old school boxes that's angled. It's not the nice box that's like 20th century where you can flip it to a 24, 30, or 20 inch. So it's only 24 inches. So I did it with a 20-pound vest to a 24-inch box. And it took me over an hour. I remember it was like 62 minutes or something like that. It's a long time. And I felt it the next day. You're right. I mean, I wasn't incapacitated. Now, I've never run a marathon, so I don't know what that feels like. But I felt it in my hips big time the following day. So I can't imagine adding 25 more pounds on. Yikes.
No, I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's very heavy. And I did watch a lot of athletes do Chad the last time it was done. My wife did Chad. I think she did body weight only, but still, she just set out to do the 1,000 box step ups. And, it took her a long time to get through it. But it's one of those where I think there's this sense of like pride when you accomplish something that's so kind of insane. Yeah. It's so crazy to do something like that. I have been incapacitated by an effort. I would say both the times I did half Ironman races, the end of the 13-mile run, at the end of all of that work, after I was done and got in the car and drove to a grocery store to buy groceries or something later that day, I could barely walk the rest of that day.
You were frozen in your sitting position.
Oh my gosh.
It really
there's
freezes you up.
Those monotonous efforts like that, I think, where you're doing the same movement over and over and over again, whether you're running or you're doing something that's beyond, something that you've ever done. Like my longest run happened to be a half marathon, which is the end of a triathlon. And I did that during the triathlon. That's my longest run. My longest bike ride was during the half Ironman. The longest swim I've ever done was during that as well. I didn't overtrain for those events. I was like, hang on and survive. But they, those monostructural events will definitely take their toll. But the interesting about Chad for the games athletes is, when is it? What does it look like? And man, how will that affect, those fittest individial athletes?
Well, they said it won't be first, and now I think they did say with the run swim today to be first. So
sure.
Where does? Oh, and he said all athletes will do Chad, so it'll be before cuts.
Sure.
So it fits somewhere in that time frame. It's not first thing Thursday morning, but it'll be before Sunday.
Yeah. Another piece of news I noticed that I think maybe was announced today more specifically was that the CrossFit Games will be on all of the ESPN various channels.
Good.
Which is expected. I know that they are trying to make a big play there. And I guess my question for you, I think I know the answer for you, and I wonder about our audience. It'd be interesting to take a poll on how many people have ESPN and watch it on a regular basis. Now, I think you do because you follow a lot of sports. I'm talking to a guy that I think I know you do, right?
There are two channels on in our house: a local news channel for weather in the morning as noise, and ESPN. Yes. And third would be Golf Channel. So there's three.
This is true.
Three channels.
I have stayed in a hotel with you, and I'm pretty sure that when I arrived,
Sports
ESPN
Center
was on, and it just was. Yeah. I will tell you this: I haven't had cable, Rick, in let's see, 16 years. I think it's been 16 years since I've had cable.
Oh my gosh!
And I mean, 16 years ago, I couldn't afford cable, so I'll just throw that out there as a copy. Like 15 years ago, it was a place in my life where I couldn't afford cable. It didn't fit the budget. Right. But then at a certain point,
you don't need it.
Netflix made more sense. Like this was when we were sending in to get DVDs in the mail.
Yeah.
So that made sense. And then streaming popped up, and now I subscribe to a bunch of different streaming services. So I don't think I'm saving money when it comes down to it.
But you get what you need from rather than just cable now that you have the house right into. Yeah.
And I was slightly annoyed. Yeah. I was slightly annoyed that, if it was going to only be on ESPN for U.S. customers, if we weren't going to be able to watch it on the other streaming platforms. But I think CrossFit made it clear in the post that it was going to be streaming on the other platforms as well. Because I remember there was one year, I think it was maybe last year, where you could only watch it on ESPN Plus in the U.S., So I actually had to use a VPN to watch it via YouTube from, I VPN to Australia or something so I could watch it from a different country on YouTube.
For the folks that have probably the Disney Plus bundle,
right?
I think ESPN Plus is part of that. Is that right?
Okay.
I think, and there's a lot of folks with that just because of kids and whatnot. Hey, talking to our audience, that's an easy way to get ESPN Plus. I have YouTube TV, so I do have ESPN and ESPN2. I'm assuming it'll be on, something maybe the main channel,
we'll find
something like that. But no, I save a heck of a lot of money with YouTube TV, giving me kind of exactly what I need, and not paying for all the 47 channels, 65 channels I don't watch.
See, Ricky, you're a techie guy. When we got on the podcast, you said, man, if I had to deal with tech like this all the time, I mean, you have YouTube TV. This is your cutting edge.
There's one person on this podcast that can figure out tech. That's not me. Trust me. Believe me.
And was there any other news in the CrossFit world that, you know what we haven't talked about, was the fact that Shawn Woodland will not be announcing the games this year. Did we?
Correct.
That's a couple weeks old at this point.
Right.
Did you have any feelings, around that were significant?
Disappointing.
Except just disappointment.
Yeah. Disappointing. Maybe one day we'll hear more. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to talk to him sometime. But from the interviews I've heard he's done, it was really kind of the way it was presented to him. Now, he was not an employee, he's a contractor, and the contractors, as it was explained to me, they get, they kind of wait through this time of year for the contact to be made to them to say, hey, we need your services for this, this, and this. And as some time passed and he wasn't getting contacted, then I think he started to put two and two together. And then when they told them without a reason given why, I just find that odd. And I know you and I went back and forth when that happened, and we're like, every time it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or maybe 1 step forward, 2 steps back for CrossFit. It's like, he's the Al Michaels, the John Madden, a Jim Nance of the sport. And unless there was some reason why midstream like this? Why do that? It's not like he's retiring. Right. He's not going out on his terms.
No.
He's the voice of the sport.
He's been the voice of the sport for so long. And I remember that, they had a stream going for the semifinal events around the world. And it felt like they really honed in on the semifinals in North America East because it's such a packed field. And then they, have Shawn Woodland on that broadcast. You just think like, okay, they brought Shawn in because this is kind of they're all big semifinals, but this is a big one. Yeah, it's a marquee one. I got to jump in the booth with Shawn when I was out there. I mean, it's so good to spend time with him and see how he operates behind the scenes. It was just truly amazing. So all of that feels like all the momentum is continuing in the same direction for him. And then for him to have that rug pulled out from under him, it also just has this idea of like, hey, this person has been the voice of CrossFit. You've had a relationship with this person as in an organization for over 10 years, and no phone call, no conversation around this for someone that you've had this long-term relationship with. Just a very strange thing. I mean, again, the only public figure in CrossFit right now is Dave Castro. He's the only one doing anything on a content basis, and he can't do everything. He's not built for that in any way whatsoever. No. He just happens to be doing it. But if Dave gives a call out to Shawn and says, hey man, this is what's going, any kind of a phone call from anyone across it. I don't know again exactly how it went down, but you'd think something very respectful, and it didn't go that way. So, okay, it is what it is. I think we've all kind of moved on from it for now, but it is, gonna have a different feel. Even thinking about the fact that they're gonna have a movie about the last year's CrossFit Games that comes out after this year's CrossFit Games, it will have the voice of Shawn Woodland.
Right.
And we will have just gone through a CrossFit Games that doesn't have him anymore. The disjointedness of that sentence is insane
I
to
know
me.
the way to think about it. And the few of us that like that content, you know, watch every bit that we can. We will watch that movie. You'll enjoy it, but then you'll start to think back, and we'll watch this year's games. And those that have been asked to do the job will do a fine job. Their names in the sport that we know, they're certainly qualified. Why can't he be part of that booth? That was the big question. Like what happened?
So strange.
Went wrong. So,
yeah,
you know, and what Dave is doing is commendable, being the face of it. And it's getting views, but it just feels like it's a lot of ask for someone who has as much on his plate at this time of year. You know, he's picking up, talking to one lady today. I think it was released today, and he's like, "Well, yep, there's an individual right over there that's finishing up testing the final event, actually, like that." So he's multitasking at that time.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, really? What is it?" "Oh, I can't tell you."
Of course,
I can't tell you. So, I mean, there's so many irons in the fire there, and you're asking the director of the games to be the face. Whatever.
And I don't even know if he's I venture to guess that he didn't get asked to do any of this. He is choosing to.
Correct.
Because he
said he doesn't know the athletes anymore, and he wanted to get to know them. Yeah, absolutely.
And he's just kind of a disciplined guy. He does that kind of thing where he's like, I remember, I don't know if it was this year or last year, he's like, I am going to read the Bible this year. And so that's what he just decided to do. Just pick up that behemoth and go for it. Or I'm going to interview all 80 individual athletes. Well, that's craziness. But also, like, these are kind of things he gets his head wrapped around and then just goes for it. And I imagine there's elements of program where he's like, you know what, we're going to do Chad. And no one's talking me out of it. He's just got a little.
Remember the 2020 games with no music? The ones that were out at the range, the COVID era games? What if you did Chad with no music?
Oof.
And just
wild. Just dead silence.
Just hear the breathing and the labor,
the stepping.
Breathing and the steppings. Yeah. Oh,
I think that'd be great.
Oh, wow.
It'd be amazing. And then you'd hear their sounds, right? And because, you know, like if you've ever been in a gym where there's just no sound and there's someone hits the 500th rep and they let out a guttural yell, right? You're going to get cheers from the crowd. It would just be, you know, Rick, let's run that up the chain. I think you've got something there on making. How do you make it a little more dramatic? You actually just take things away from this one.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Advance your box. So, good stuff.
Rick, what do you have going on as we shift gears? What do you have going on this fall? What are the things that are on your radar? I've got them all written on my whiteboard in front of me as we were brainstorming before the podcast. Like, there's a ton of stuff going on. Let's talk about it.
First, not personally, but you and I know athletes that are competing this weekend in Monster Games. So best of luck there. I know it's a well-run event. I've never attended it before. I would like to see what this is all about at some time. It just hasn't fallen right in the schedule or calendar, but it's in, I'm not even guessing the right city, but I know it's in Missouri. And it'll be this weekend. So it's always like middle of July. It's been described as a very solid test, very well-rounded test from a programming perspective. So good luck to those athletes there. But then, in September, I think is really when we continue to be busier than we might have imagined. You have some, maybe we should go chronologically. First coming up,
I think
what do you have? Middle of September.
Middle of September. So September is very, very stacked. We've got the games. Okay. And the weekend after the games, I believe, is the 205 Throwdown down here in Birmingham, which is a very, very big regional competition. So I'll go and make an appearance there. I'm definitely not competing, and I'm probably not doing any fitness that week. So I will get there and just, shake hands and
kiss babies.
Babies. Yeah. Do all those kinds of things, which are really, really fun.
Be a politician.
Yep, I know there's a few. I know a few athletes competing. I know a few athletes coming in to also just kind of be a part of it. So that's happening. And then either the next weekend or the weekend after that is Wodapalooza in Huntington Beach, California. And I've been invited to be on a team with Eric Hinman and Sam Dancer. So we are masters athletes, and we'll be on a team out there. And I'm super excited to just go and be on a team. This will be my second team competition. I know you have lots of team experience. I just think it's so much fun. And to be, with three guys, the three of us, I'm the old guy. Sam is the huge guy. Just, I mean, there's nothing, no way around it. And then Eric is the engine. I mean, if you don't know Eric Hinman, he is doing the Leadville 100, I think, in 2 weeks. Also trains CrossFit. He's very, very Nick Barr-like in the sense that he lifts, he can move a barbell, he can do all the CrossFit stuff and do the Leadville 100 and do these huge endurance type pieces as well. So when there's a qualifier and there's an endurance piece, he's a huge sauna guy. So I'll be out in Cal.
Sold him the sauna. That's the little twist there. Yeah, small.
I'll be in Colorado for a couple of weeks. And I will be spending quite a few afternoons and evenings at Eric's house doing contrast therapy, maybe a second session in his backyard. He calls it Muscle Mountain, and then some sauna, cold plunge stuff. And we're spending some time together. So we've got Wodapalooza. And again, I don't know hardly any details about that event. I don't know how many days it actually is. I don't know when teams are going. I don't know what it looks like for individuals. And they're now having some big athletes. I know that Tia Claire Toomey and Jeff Adler have just been confirmed to be there doing something in sort of competitive way. I just saw that announced today. So whatever's going on out there, I'm participating in that. The weekend after that, that's when you come in.
Correct.
You're going to compete at Masters Fitness Championship along with 600 other Masters athletes, right?
Correct. I'll be going team with another Boulder athlete, one of my training partners, Scott Patterson. But again, that's team, and that's a few weeks after the games. That's probably the most I want to move. I think talking to a lot of folks that are going to be doing both, there's like no way they wanted to do individual at the same, just that soon after. But it'll be year 5 in Fort Wayne, same location it's been. They run a really, really good event, well-programmed, on time, well-rounded test, programmed by Invictus. So looking forward to that. And you'll be there in a not a support capacity. Well, kind of a support capacity.
Support capacity
is the right way to say it.
I am coming out to be a supporter of all of our Boulder athletes out there to cheer you guys on. I'll be the media team for Boulder Athlete out there as well.
I didn't want to shortchange you on one of your job
not
functions,
at all.
But support.
Listen, these are. I'll be support. I'll be water boy. I'll be coach. I'll be towel bearer. Media team. Whatever y'all need when you're out there. We've got a lot of athletes going out there, so we may even bring a booth up there. We haven't decided yet, but it's last year I did it for the first time, and it's just a well-run competition. And I don't do a ton of competitions. Last year I did the entire circuit. I did every big Masters competition possible, through the entire year. This year, I decided not to do every single event, but it's, I think it's going to be really fun out there. And like you said, they run a good event. Fort Wayne is a great town for something like this. They've got everything that you need for a CrossFit competition out there. So always curious to see what they throw down out there.
Right.
I think we did talk about also in September, just after the Masters Games, is the Legends Championship Qualifier, which is never easy. It's not a lightweight thing. It's one of the more challenging qualifiers, in my opinion. Is that what you've experienced?
Yes, it is one of the harder ones. And because of that, its timing this year is tough. So we're just going to, as long as it's not the immediate few days after, as long as it's not like September 3, 4, 5 or something like that, I think we'll be okay.
I think there's enough Masters athletes at the games that we could gang up on Bob and Joe.
Yep.
We could revolt, right? Yep. And and just say, look, you gotta push it back a week or two, something.
It's just a qualifier, right?
It's just a qualifier, and I always do that qualifier because I think I think they're often really fun workouts to do. Yep. Great tests. The last couple of years I've done them in an RV with remote equipment or in a gym that I've dropped into, which has always been fun. Even though I've gotten a ticket to the Legends from participating or being in the top of the CrossFit Games. That's always been nice. So it's been pressure-free qualifier practice, and I really enjoy that. After that, I was just thinking, there's nothing in October that I can think of.
October's
wide open.
I'll have to make actual like dad college trip to see my daughter, or take visiting trips for the youngest who's still looking at schools or something. September is kind of booked. I know I'll be on the clock in October, right? But for CrossFit, outside of getting back into some training, I don't believe there's anything on the calendar. If there are, please leave
back into training and
shout at us.
Of course, let us know. Maybe we need to travel somewhere. We'll head to Brazil or something. In November, it would be fun. In November, I know I have the Hyrox Dallas event. Mm-hmm. So I'll be expanding into trying new sports, which is one of the CrossFit mottos, play new sports. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of crossover in our sport and Hyrox. We push sleds, we do lunge walks, we do lots of wall balls. We love ski ergs and rowers. We often don't run 8K in a single event. So this is where the distance will come into play there. And I'll be one of those athletes that doesn't look like I should be there because I weigh 200 pounds. But I'm going to go and I want to give it a really good push. So I'll actually probably bias some of my training post games towards some of that, quite a bit more endurance. Pick up, spend a lot more time on my feet running. Maybe I lose 5 pounds, 5, 6, 7 pounds, something like that, just for that particular season. I will want it all back so I can move barbells well. Right. But the Hyrox Dallas, I just got an email. It will be the largest Hyrox event to date with 6,000 participants.
Wow.
I don't know how they do that. How do you get 6,000 people through there? I can't even fathom the size of that. I've done large events like an Ironman half triathlon. Those are big events. They just really, really huge and spread out. You have people all over 50 miles when they're on their bikes. It's not all bunched up. I think about Hyrox. How do you run a heat? I don't even know how many days it is, maybe 2 days, and somehow have 6,000 people compete, but they do it, and I think they do it very well. So I know a lot of athletes that are headed out to Dallas, some Chicago, Anaheim are some of the remaining this year, but there's quite a few teams heading out to Dallas. And everyone that I know, if you're a listener and you're headed out to Dallas for Hyrox, let me know. We'll have to do some sort of a meetup out there, right?
Friend of the podcast, Renee, just signed up. She'll be out there. Yeah.
So much fun.
I told her she'll be looking for you. They'll figure it out.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
something to try how it feels. That's going to be some very used equipment after those couple of days. Those rowers and Skierg is in there, right?
Skierg is in there.
Okay. Yeah. Those are going to be some handles that are going to be well worn.
Dude, I think you got a plan for, I've seen people wear gloves, and I'm not wearing gloves. It just doesn't. That feels like CrossFit 2014 when people would wear gloves for pull-ups. They'd go buy golf gloves or something. So I'm not doing that, but I could see carrying chalk in my pockets. Grab those handles on the skier or the rower. I'm thinking about the amount of people that have touched a sandbag that I'm going to have on my shoulders. That's pretty gross.
Yeah, sorry.
And how many people will have done burpees on the floor that I'm doing burpee broad jumps on? And I've never thought of this hand sanitizer in my other pocket. I'll just
6,000 athletes. Then it started to dawn on me. I'm like, Jason, what are you getting into?
I know,
but that's okay. These events go on. We're not crazy.
Right. This never happens during the COVID era, but now I think we're all just like, hey, let's just do it. Have some fun. So I think it's going to be really fun. Actually, my 23-year-old son is going to fly down to Dallas and do it with me as well. Excellent. So he'll be in a different division, but I reached out to him and I said, hey, take a look at this if you think that'd be fun. He did a half Ironman with me in Augusta, Georgia a year and a half ago. So this would be another big event that we get to do together, and we'll probably
very fun.
We'll make a friendly bet. I think that's always fun. You must gamble with your children when it comes to sporting events.
There you go.
Highly encouraged.
Let me
High
guess.
stakes. I mean,
Pizza.
I think we bet 2 beers last time.
Oh, okay.
And so I sold my soul and I earned myself a couple of beers. Yeah. And then, you know what? That's November, middle of November. And we're going to turn around in a blink of an eye. We're going to be back in Phoenix, Arizona for Legends again. After that.
At Arizona State.
At Arizona State, that amazing venue that had the pool, that had 2 floors inside. And I know that Bob mentioned at some point that he was wanting to get the football field in play, which may have a track on it out there for this year, which puts us subject to the weather. And if Bob plans it, it'll definitely rain because it's just what happens. But that's going to be fun, really fun.
But Phoenix right now, some friends have texted us. Yesterday, I think, was 116 for a temperature there. Yeah, I mean, we were hoping for those days last December to be 70, 75, which was fantastic for December. It felt great sitting out by the pool. But 116, thank goodness they do in December. That's all I got to say. That's not safe out there.
I will say something about heat, and this is a side note. So I'm going to divert us, and we're going to get right back on track.
Okay.
But I did have an Instagram message that came in a couple of days ago. Someone said, they asked, do I think all of the events for the Masters Games will be indoors?
Right.
Because this person said that some people were hesitant to buy tickets or even come as athletes if they were going to have to be outside. And I was just like, in my brain, I'm just like, well, look. It's not that hot, okay? I mean, it's warm out, but it's not that hot. It's like 95 degrees every day this week, and the humidity is very high. But you can manage. Again, if you had to watch a 30-minute event outside, you would absolutely survive. If you had to compete in a 20 or 30-minute event outside, you would be totally fine. Like it is not that bad. In fact, as many times a week as I can, I will finish one of my sessions outside in the sun. So if I can, if the workout is compatible, so that I can just be out there in the heat. One, I like it. And two, just, I want to be acclimated. But it's just not that big of a deal. And the other answer to that question is I do think that 90, 95, maybe even 99% of all of our stuff will be indoors. There is a reason that this event is at a convention center in a space that can have 3 different competition floors on it all at the same time.
It's 3 fields of play going, we believe,
for 4 days.
And you've actually stepped foot in there. It's a very, very large venue. I mean, we've read the stats on the website, but it's hard to put that into perspective. How many 100,000 feet or something?
Massive.
Like okay.
I mean, we could run inside for miles. We could. I mean, if we were to run a perimeter for some reason on the inside, we could do a 4-mile run, and we wouldn't have that many turns. We wouldn't hurt our ankles because of the amount of turns that we have.
Okay, that's interesting. All right.
You could probably get at least an 800 just running the perimeter. I mean, ideally, we get to run outside. I'd love to see something where we do some work inside, we run outside, we got to come back in. There could be stuff like that. But just to answer that side question, since we're talking about the heat that they'll have in Arizona, the heat that will be in Dallas at the games, like they've already announced that they're going to do something in the evening one night, and it doesn't get cool at night in Dallas.
Right.
It'll be 90 degrees at night. They're going to figure it out. They're going to run outside and then swim. They're going to be okay. And in Birmingham, especially late August, you're moving into September. This is it's a milder time as you move through August into September. So it's going to be okay. I just wanted to side note. Now we can come back to the regularly scheduled programming.
No problem.
Everybody rest assured, I think you're going to make it. And, if you're outside, don't worry. You can get inside really easily. And there's lots of air conditioning.
There will be times where you will have to walk from your car to said venue, said store, airport, rental car facility, whatever. You'll figure it out. And you won't melt.
And I'll tell you this, that if you walk from the airport to the rental car facility, you have to walk outside for about 50 feet before you walk inside the rental car facility. Perfect. So those 50 feet, just look, don't wear your sweatsuit with a jacket outdoors during that time. It'll be too much.
Perfect.
It'll be too much. What else, Rick? Is there anything else in that fall calendar? I think think we nailed it.
Yeah, I was going to say that takes us to the end of the year. I don't really want to peek
Yep.
into 2025 too much yet, because it is only July, and it feels it's a great time of the year. As we said at the outset of this, everybody's busy. You know, if you're listening to this and you're an athlete and you're training for something, there's a good chance you're in the middle of a cycle, or you have your eyes on a calendar of what's coming down. You're counting down weeks and days, and then the fall will be fun, will be entertaining. Wish everybody good health, and let's all meet up at our various venues and have some fun.
Yes,
because there will be a lot of
absolutely.
them. There will be a lot of them.
Oh my gosh, so many.
August through December, and we're missing them too. We're missing some things too. So I guess we should do a little more homework in there and see what else we have.
To our international audience, we are always curious if you know of an event that would be important for us to talk about, whether, like I said, it'd be in Brazil or France, or the UK or Europe or Asia, Australia. If there's something, if someone is listening to us and there's something you want us to pay attention to and cover, we're all game for that. And Rick and I, we'll try to fly down and compete in some of these at some point in our future. We'll have the podcast sponsor us because, you know, we're just rolling in it over here. So
I do have a question for you before we kind of wrap up here. But 205 throwdown from a Northeast Ohio guy, is that the area code down there? Is that why they do that?
It is the area code.
There we go. Okay, you've worn a 205 shirt before, and I'm like, gotta be it. Okay, we're 216 here, so there's a lot of 216 shirts that float around. Yeah,
I'm not sure. When I was given the 205 throwdown shirt, I'm not sure if I had made that connection yet. But you know, just as I send text messages to vendors, like I had a carport built a couple weeks ago. So 205. These are anybody whose phone number that I don't already know. Right down here, it's all 205. So that is good to know. Okay. And speaking of busy times of the year, Rick, I know that for us, we are in training and preparation. How's your body holding up? You feeling good? Body's feeling good?
Yes. So far, so good. I'll knock on wood.
Yep.
I think reflecting back the last couple of summers have been a little different in terms of volume, in terms of preparation, in terms of goals. This summer has been so far much more consistent, and the health has allowed me to be more consistent. The schedule hasn't changed. I'm still working. It's still pain in the butt to try and juggle everything. And a lot of listeners, same thing. You're trying to fit training into and around your life schedule. But so far, so good. Feeling good. You know, I'd love to be stronger. I'd love to be a little faster, but I'm doing what I can. How about you?
I'd prefer to be just a touch taller. I wish I was taller. So, you know,
like the wall balls. That much easier.
Yeah, it'd be wall balls a little bit easier. Feeling good. Actually been feeling really good the past couple of weeks. I came off of a week of travel last week, out of town, was up in Montana for a week, caught some altitude training up there. So that was certainly felt that.
Beneficial.
But body is feeling beneficial, or I was able to keep up. I mean, it was kind of a family vacation, but I was still able to get probably 2 hours of training each day that we were there. Including one of the travel days, I got a session in that night. So I liked being able to sneak off on a vacation at the same time, maintain my training. Probably didn't move the needle, but I didn't fall back at this important time of the season. And yeah, the volume has ratcheted up a little bit. You felt that. I felt that. That's what's necessary at this time. And again, it prepares us for everything that's coming this fall. I think we will be very fit human beings heading into our biggest competition of the year, and then the subsequent fun competitions for the year for us.
Yeah, so much looking forward to this.
So before we got on the podcast, Rick, I found my pick of the week. Do you have a pick of the week, or should I talk about mine while you figure out what you got?
I already know what I was going to say. It's not a pick of the week. It's a repeat of the week, and I'll explain.
Go for it.
But no, because today, before you and I got together, I was like, I don't have I'm looking around. I'm like, boy, and this dovetails to what I just said, how consistent this summer has been so far. I don't have a lot of new anything, but what I have on repeat, it feels like in my browser on the laptop at home. It's everything that I've ordered or need to reorder is kind of still open tab, and just hit it. Anything that comes from Amazon, boom. I don't have it on subscription, but I just hit it when I need it. Element, your code's in there, got it on repeat, boom, hit it. Any of the protein that I get, that's on auto delivery. It's just been this probably from April through now. It's just nothing new has entered. It's just this steady stream of being consistent. And I think that's part of what you and I've talked about too, is once you find something that works for the physical part of it, tape, shoes, belt, wrist straps, whatever, supplements, protein, anything like that, recovery, and you like it, stay with it. So for me, it's just been being as consistent as possible. So to the family members, please don't close all of my browser windows or I'm going to be stuck. That's all I got.
You wouldn't even know. Like,
no one's.
Oh no, I don't even know what to order. What's my inventory?
Please don't do that. Don't.
Oh,
make me do it all
my
over
wife.
again.
As soon as it's published, she is on it, which is nice because then she'll let us know. Like, hey, you guys that was a good episode. Well, thank you. Okay, appreciate that. So she'll let us know, Rick. If
good.
If we have any major issues. Okay,
Thank
so
you,
my
Gina.
pick of the week. We just chatted about this prior to a podcast. So Rick and I both did a workout today that had it was around 5 minutes of work, give or take, and then 2 minutes of rest, and it was repeated 3 times for total time. Okay, so the way Rick and I operate is you jot down those times on a whiteboard, and you get out of the gym, and then later, when you're trying to enter your score into, take a picture of the whiteboard.
Take a picture of the whiteboard.
When you're trying to trying to get in there and look at your score or calculate your score, you're trying to have to calculate with time. Like, you got 421 plus 2 minutes plus 431 plus 2 minutes plus 440. That math may not be very hard for a lot of people, but like if it goes over the 60-second or minute mark, 60-second mark, it's a mess. Okay, it's just a big giant mess. So there is a time calculator. It's a free app. It's the easiest thing. It is in my folder on my iPhone called my training folder. So in there I have I'm going to mention 2. I have an app called CrossConvert.
Okay.
So CrossConvert is an app that if let's say you have a 30-calorie row prescribed, but you don't have a rower available. You know, the whole class is on the rowers. The only thing that's available is the Echo Bike. So you could type in 30 calorie on the rower. On the Echo Bike, the equivalent would be 20 calories. This is what CrossConvert does. Or again, I have 30 calories on the rower. That would be 23 calories on the assault bike, 750 meters on the bike erg, or 30 calories on the bike erg, 30 calories on the ski erg. Let's say that I want to go meters, and let's call this, let's call this 750 meters on the rower, just to really mess with our heads. 750 meters on the rower translates to 41 calories on the Echo Bike, 45 calories on the assault bike, 1,500 meters, which we know on the C2 bike, because you wouldn't want to double those meters on the C2. So at any given point, if you're even, your assault bike to Echo Bike, to run, to burpee, to double under, CrossConvert will take a stimulus and translate it into any other machine. It's amazing.
Do you use that for programming when you're programming?
Oh, heck yeah.
A little bit. Okay.
I've got it pretty much memorized at this point, for the most part. But I will use it for my programming. And for those, I always program Echo Bike. Just into Boulder Athlete, it's just programmed Echo Bike. Whether you're using an Echo Bike or an assault bike, there's a similar stimulus, but you're going to want to add calories for an assault bike. And normally I'll use this if I only have an assault bike available, I will use this for my conversion. That's my number one use for it right there.
Okay.
The second app is, again, it's an app called Time Calculator. You can just look in the App Store. I'm on Apple. Time Calculator. And it has all kinds of calculators, but the very top one is Time Calculator, where you could type in your Fran time. Let's call that 1:52. Just kidding. That's not my Fran time. But if it was, that'd be awesome if it was. Yeah. And then let's type in my grace time as maybe, let's call that 56 seconds. That'd be my grace time, plus 56. Then I'm going to rest 3 minutes. And then I'm going to do, do Chad. It's going to take me 32 minutes and 58 seconds. Again, these are ridiculous times, but the total time to do Fran, Grace, rest 3 minutes, and then do Chad, like a crazy athlete, would be 38 minutes and 46 seconds. And that's all in the app. You just type in the time and it figures it out. So
I have 2 new apps on the phone right now.
how much that helps. And it's one of those the apps that you don't use that often, but when you do, you're just so grateful that you can just add up this time so easily. And then the cross convert comes in handy again when you may be dropping in a gym, you're trying to stick to the stimulus of a workout, and they don't have a ski erg. They only have a salt bike, so you can translate anything into an equivalent stimulus, and it's always nice to do that. I don't know, when I'm following instructions in a programmed workout, I always want to do it as close as possible to exactly what is written, if I can.
Right.
So those are my picks: cross convert and time calculator. That'll make your life much better.
I have them now. I'm going to have to put them in my little CrossFit folder on the phone.
Yes. You have to. Yeah. If you don't put them in the folder, you'll forget that they exist.
You forget where they are. Yeah, that'll be the problem.
Yeah.
I have way too many. Don't look at my phone. I have way too many unfolded apps just random scattered everywhere. Probably driving me crazy.
I think you reach a certain point where you're like, okay, I've had it. And then you sit down, you put your feet up, and you work on the organization of your phone a little bit.
Yes.
And then it takes you this is old man talk right here, but then it takes you 3 or 4 weeks to remember. You have all this muscle memory, and instead of listening to podcasts, you keep clicking, YouTube music instead of YouTube podcasts.
Because it's where my finger goes to on the screen. I know. Trust me.
Yes.
It's the same.
Yeah. This is our life.
We're going to end it on this.
We are going to end it on that. Thanks for listening, guys. Rick,
Absolutely.
I'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.